Welcome back to another episode of Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Cole Young. This week we're doing something a little special and a little different. So instead of our normal wheels that we spin that tell us the topics we're going to cover and the amount of time we're going to talk about them for, we brought in a moderator. So we have Melissa Mione here. Melissa, thanks for being with us.
Of course.
And as always, we have Adam Christensen again.
Yep, it's good to be back here.
Yeah, always good to be back.
Always.
Melissa, why don't you tell us our first topic, how much time we got, and we'll jump right into it.
Okay, sounds good. So this is going to be 2 minutes, guys, just so you know. It's going to be about Sergio Garcia and Matt Kuchar. So over the weekend at the quarterfinals for the WGC Dell match, there's a little bit of feud, a little bit of issue, and they're dominating headlines. Adam, why don't you tell us what happened?
Well, I mean, really, this whole thing could have been avoided. So we have Sergio Garcia, Matt Kuchar in a match-play match, like she said, in the quarterfinals. And Sergio missed a putt and then also missed the comeback putt. And he doesn't handle that very well historically throughout his career. He's been known to break some putters, throw some clubs in the water, things like that. So he didn't handle it well. He picked it up in a little irate fashion. He never really got the concession from Matt Kuchar to be able to pick that ball up, which you need in a match play event. And then the rules official caught it, came over, and they kind of debated about it for the next few holes. Kuchar was trying to get another hole out of Sergio for it and everything like that. Just really, this thing could have been avoided if one, Sergio just looked up at him and asked for the concession, or if two, Kuchar just said, it's fine, whatever, I was going to win this hole anyways, it didn't matter.
So, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a huge, groundbreaking topic, but there definitely is a story there, and there's clearly conflict going on there. So, who do you think, if anyone, is in the right or if anyone's wrong?
I guess if you really want to look at it like that, which I know, like, golf fans love rules. They're the types of fans that like to call in rule violations from their couch for a major and things like that. So, if you really want to look at the rules, it was Sergio's fault. He needed to get that concession to be able to pick that ball up. But like I said, this whole thing, this is not what golf wants on the headlines. So it could have been avoided easily. You had a bunch of former players and current players coming out saying how it could have been avoided, how this didn't need to happen. A few took sides, mostly took Kuchar's side because, like I said, he never really did give the concession to Sergio. So, but all in all, this really just should have been avoided. It's just a bad look for golf.
It definitely doesn't look good. And it's interesting to see, too, because Kuchar was just in headlines because he made an enormous amount of money, and he paid his caddy, I think it was like $4,000. So he took a lot of backlash for that. So it's interesting to see. He's not having a very good couple-month period.
No, and for a good golfer too, that's not the type of look and the type of media press you want heading into the major season. I mean, you could have had some fans.
And they say there's no such thing as bad press, but
there is.
Yeah.
I think there is a little bit.
All right, Melissa, if you want to give us our next topic, we'll move right along.
All right, so moving on, we're going to go to basketball. Obviously, March Madness is still happening, but we are in April. The Final Four games are actually tomorrow. So what do you guys feel about this year's Final Four? Because there have been, Duke is out, Gonzaga is out, two of the favorites and #1 seeds. What are your predictions, and how do you feel about the Final Four? Cole, we'll start with you.
So I'd first like to point out that we completely jinxed this.
I don't think it matters what our predictions are.
No,
Actually,
exactly.
It does matter because the other team's going to win.
Because in our last episode, we said our two biggest teams are Gonzaga and Duke, and look what happened. They both lose in just nail-biter games. They're very close games. And, Duke was on the winning end of those games leading into this, so it was interesting to see their luck kind of run out.
Yeah, it almost felt like it was going to happen. Like, you watch that UCF game, you watch that Virginia Tech game, you're like, this Duke team isn't looking strong. They're not looking like they did in the beginning of the year. And so, I wasn't too surprised by that. But that Texas Tech-Gonzaga game was fantastic towards the end of that game.
That was a great game, too.
Texas Tech made clutch three after clutch three. They're really looking good going into the tournament. They've had a really solid first few rounds here.
I mean, and I'm liking Virginia, too.
Yeah.
It kind of hurt me to see them beat Purdue because, again, we ranted about them last episode, too. And
Purdue played great, too.
They did. Carson Edwards dropped, 42 points, I think, and then they looked great. But, it's interesting, too. Virginia looks great, and I think they have a good chance to win it all. Yeah. But it's funny to me because they were the first team last year, the first team in history to lose to a 16 seed, or one seed losing to a 16 seed. So. But they do look good, so I think they're gonna pull away. They are favored, I think, by 5.5, which is a fairly decent spread. So
for college basketball, especially in the Final Four, that's a pretty big spread. But like you said, I think that almost that embarrassment factor, because you got Virginia doesn't really have a lot of guys that are one and dones. They have a couple, but a lot of their team was there last year when they lost. So that's almost like that embarrassment motivation factor. It's not going to happen again, and they've looked. Up until that Purdue game, they looked pretty dominant heading into the tournament. Yeah,
they definitely seems like
the Oregon scare, but
definitely seems like they have vengeance on their mind.
Yeah, it definitely does.
What about Michigan State, Texas Tech? What do you like there?
Yeah, I think you just got to go. Michigan State just looked really good against Duke. They look like one of the more complete teams in this Final Four, maybe next to Virginia. I think that would be a fantastic championship matchup if we can get Virginia, Michigan State. But don't sleep on these Red Raiders from Texas Tech, man. They play really good defense. They limit opponents' scoring chances, which is really key. And when you get inside a football stadium, it's going to be tough to shoot. You're going to have to play good defense. So I like Virginia. Auburn really relies on their shooting. Texas Tech plays really good defense. So I think that Texas Tech Michigan State game is going to be the best game of the weekend.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some good games this weekend, and I, for one, am looking forward to it.
Yes.
So based on that, then, now with the new Final Four, who do you think is going to win it all?
Oof.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I got to go with Virginia. They just look like the most fundamentally sound team on defense. They know how to win those really tight, close games. They don't really rely on their scoring. They rely on shutting teams down on defense and then finding the open holes in the offense and really working through there. And I think they just really got the momentum on their side. That buzzer beater to tie the Purdue and send it to overtime. I think ever since that whole overtime, they just looked like they knew exactly what to do. And
it seems like when they made that buzzer beater shot, I almost felt like they were for sure going to win. They had the momentum going into overtime, and they just carried it and obviously ran away with it.
It's like the start of the championship tape almost.
Yes, exactly.
You gotta get something in there.
Well,
all right, what's next?
We'll find out this weekend,
Yeah,
right?
we sure
All
will.
right. Our next topic is going to be about the one and only LeBron James.
Yet again.
Yet again. You can't
Always
ever
finds
not.
his way to get in the headlines.
It's LeBron James, the king of basketball. You can't.
The
You
king,
can't.
yeah, the
All
king.
right, 2 minutes now. This is the first time in 14 years that LeBron is not going to be in the playoffs since 2004. That's a big deal. Was this his worst season ever? Adam, why don't you start us off?
You kind of gotta say yeah. I mean, he did have that injury, and I don't think that helped. But he wasn't as dominant. I mean, we've seen him take worse Cavalier teams to the Eastern Conference Finals, and even to the finals. So I don't even know if it's probably his worst year, and it's also probably his least motivated year. He just didn't look like he really wanted to win.
It really didn't seem like he wanted to be in LA. I don't know why, but he looked almost down. But yeah, you pointed out he did miss 17 games, and I think it was his trainer came out and said he had a pretty severe injury that he played through, so you kind of got to give him that. Yeah. But statistically, interesting enough, it wasn't his worst season ever. It wasn't his best, but so it's kind of interesting to see, even if it was his worst season, his worst is still better than a lot of people's best.
Yeah,
so
that is something to take
he's just
into
held
account,
to such high standards. But he did actually have his worst over-under since 2006 and his worst value over replacement player since his rookie year. So those aren't good stats, really.
That's not good, and maybe this was just a little down year. He was a workhorse for those Cavalier and Heat teams, so maybe this was his little chance to kind of get a little more of a restful season, something where he's not pushing himself down these last few months to fight for those playoff spots and for those first couple round victories. So maybe this is helping him. If he can get it's all matters for the summer though. If they can get a free agent and they will get a high draft pick, that could really turn things around for these Lakers.
Well, it is like you said, he's a workhorse, and he was still trying to carry this team, it seemed like. Also, it's worth noting that Lonzo only played 47 games, and Kyle Kuzma only played 52. So those are two big names that are going to add a lot to your offense, and when they're out, too, he has a lot bigger load, and if you're not fully healthy, it's not going to be that easy. So.
Yeah, and it almost seemed like those injuries happened at 2 different times this season. Like it was always one of them out. They never really had a complete team. And those first few months of a basketball season, you need your complete team to build up that chemistry and build up your rotations, your how you play off one another and things like that, especially when you bring in a guy like LeBron.
Yep. And it's for them, I feel like this season's a question of what if. What if no one got hurt? What if LeBron stayed healthy? What if they got Anthony Davis?
Probably got us. Oh, if they got Anthony Davis,
that's a totally different story. We're talking about the Lakers in a
Those
different
are
way.
what ifs, guys. Right now we're talking about
Can't
LeBron.
dwell.
All right, we're going to move on through the basketball world. We're going to talk about the one and only Russell Westbrook. Yeah, he is once again dominating the media. He's in headlines, but for this one, he's a little bit more of a positive spin. I know, weird, right? Russell. I know, something good. Well, why is he making headlines? Cole, why don't you start us off?
Well,
for 3 minutes, too, so make it quick.
He became the second player ever, alongside Wilt Chamberlain, big name, obviously, to have a triple-double with 20 in all categories. So he had 20 points, 20 rebounds, and 21 assists. And that's just unbelievable. And for me, at least, the craziest part is the 21 assists. That's unheard of. And he had 10 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So, It's unbelievable. And to top it all off, we were just talking about LeBron. It was against the Lakers.
Yeah,
so.
it was perfect. Just fantastic.
Yeah.
No, to me, the best part about this is that he came into the game saying he left his house with the mindset, I'm going to go 20, 20, and 20 tonight. And then he went out and did it. He's trying to do something that only one person in history has done. And then he did it. And I just think that really speaks to like his mentality. He is an attack guy. He will attack until he achieves his goal. And it was something special to watch that night. I mean, like you said, the 21 assists, 10 in the first quarter, that's unheard of in the NBA, no matter who you are. And Russell really put on a show.
He did. And he's also averaging a triple-double for the season. Yeah. He's averaging...
Again.
This isn't his first time doing it. He's averaging 23 points a game, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. I don't know how he does it, really.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of just that the Thunder need him to. Like the Thunder, I mean, they're in a 7th seed with him averaging a triple-double.
They
need
9 games behind the
him
Warriors.
to do it. Yeah, they really need. And if they're going to win a round, if they're going to steal, and I say steal a round in the playoffs because they are not going to be the favorite no matter who they play, really, they really need him to put up a 40, 20, and 21 night. Like they're gonna need him to do that, and so I'm kind of excited to see that first round matchup because I want to see what he's gonna try to do. He's gonna try to do some crazy stuff.
And I don't want to discredit him by any means because obviously that's incredible. Second player in the history of time to do it. That's that's an enormous feat. But you always have to look at his stat line too because he shot 8 for 23 that night, and that's not that good.
No.
So I mean, he'll have nights where he scores 45 points. And like, well, how many shots did he take? He took 45 shots. So I mean. Like I said, I don't want to discredit him because that's an amazing feat, but you do have to look at that and kind of take note. And it's almost like Kobe.
Yeah,
he knows he has to take those shots, and he's putting up the points in the winning games. So if it works, it works.
I mean, it's not surprising too. Russell Westbrook went to UCLA. He was in LA when Kobe was doing his thing. He got to see it on a nightly basis, and he's like, that's not a bad idea. I could probably do that, and now he is. So I mean, if you're gonna put up 40 points a game, 45 points a game, they really need him to. So I guess it's more the Thunder just saying, yeah, go ahead, shoot 50 shots a game because we need those points.
I feel like his teamemates aren't going to be too upset about it.
No.
If they're winning games, and
his old teammates maybe. I mean, that's part of the reason KD and James Winston. Whatever. That's part of the reason they left. Anyways, I see why they left, I guess, now looking back on it. It's a missed opportunity for Thunders. If I was a Thunder fan, I'd be a little upset because that is a chance at a dynasty.
They could have been one of the best teams in the history of time.
Yeah.
I mean, they would raise the question, though, there's only one ball. And you have 3 people that are now MVP status, so...
Classic
basketball conundrum. I guess.
Only one ball.
What if? Yeah.
Only one ball.
That is going to be something that will never happen unless some changes are made.
No, I don't see it.
No.
But it's good for Russell, though.
Yeah.
He made history.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
awesome. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Okay. Next, we're moving on to football.
Woo.
So the AAF has ceased all operations.
RIP.
I know. Literally 2 months after they're in their inaugural system and after they started, they are now ceasing all operations. People aren't going to be getting paid. People have to go home. Jobs are over. What went wrong?
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with just the financial side of it. I mean, when you need a $200+ million investment in your 3rd week of operations or something like that, that's not a good sign.
It's a red flag.
That's a pretty big red flag. That owner, Tom Dundon, ended up losing $70 million. I would love to be in a position to be able to lose $70 million and just, that's not a big deal. That's a week. But I think really what this shows us is that the appetite for football might not be as big as people think.
I disagree with you on that because I think there is a huge appetite for football, but not in the spring. I think people, and not this caliber of football. People love the NFL. It's possibly the biggest industry in the United States.
Most watched sport in the United States by far.
Yeah, exactly.
By far.
And I mean, it's crazy to think about too. Like I'm not surprised it failed because think about like the CFL, the Arena Football League. I mean, they're still going, but can you honestly say you've sat down and watched an entire game of either one of those? So
no, I played the AFL video game a while back.
I did too.
That was fun.
That was a fun game.
Yeah,
yes.
hit people into the walls and stuff. But yeah, I think like you said, with just the football dominates the news cycle in fall. In the fall, you have the NFL on Thursdays, college football on Friday, Saturday, and then you got NFL on Sunday, Monday. Yep. And I think that by the end of February, fans just had enough football for the year, and they're ready to go on to different sports. Basketball, you got March Madness coming up around the corner. I think people were just more focused on that, and the NBA playoffs, even the NHL playoffs a little bit, more so than wanting to see mediocre football that had maybe like 6 or 7 guys that were really worth tuning in for.
6 or 7 points a game.
Yeah, and 6 or 7 points a game. So, hey, but shout out to Steve Spurrier,
Champion, yep.
Champions came out right away and announced it. Don't worry that your players have to pay their medical bills, that they have to pay for their flights home. We won the championship.
I mean, it is a bummer because I watched a couple games and it was entertaining, but I think it's more of a bummer for the players themselves because a lot of these guys, like Johnny Manziel was in the league, who had his, he had his history, he had his rough path, but he had a chance to get back into the NFL, and I think that's what this league was, and I think that was the intention for these guys to get exposure, to get on an NFL team. So it's a bummer to see that this might have been some guys' last chance ever, and it's sad to see that they might not get that chance anymore.
It really could. I mean, how much would Trent Richardson have helped him if he could have those 3 extra eyes, like 3 extra games, 3 extra times for coaches to watch him, stuff like that? It is kind of a little upsetting for them, yeah.
I mean, you say that about Trent Richardson, but that's a guy who his longest career rush in the NFL was 33 yards.
I mean, these are all guys who would be backups in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I mean, what the interesting thing to me is, if you were planning on being a feeder league to the NFL, why not just try to go in with that mentality? Why not try to work out something with the NFL so you're more financially stable and you don't have to worry about that?
It was definitely a bold choice to be kind of a standalone league because it could have been like the developmental league in the NBA.
Yeah.
Coaches could have gone to games, even had like NFL scouts and coaches be the coaches of these teams.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have handled it better.
It was a missed opportunity for sure.
It was.
Yeah.
And the more we talk about it, the more I think, have you seen the Fyre Fest documentary?
Yeah.
Great idea on paper. They got all these big names. Everyone's all excited and like, wait, we don't have any money. We can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, never mind. Everyone fly home.
Give me
figure it out
the
yourself.
AAF documentary. 30 for 30.
There's going to be a 30 for
10
30
years.
on
I'll
AAF.
make it.
That's
This
All right, you
might-
heard it here first.
Do you think it could ever happen though, honestly?
We'll see with the XFL, man. I mean,
Yeah,
That's
that's
true.
going to be the next
got another
challenge.
shot next year.
I mean, the CFL stuck around forever.
Yeah.
I don't know people that watch it, but it's still around. It still
around.
makes money, so
Just got to go in with the right financial mindset. I feel like
I
that's
guess
the
so.
thing
And you
there.
gotta
gotta
find
do
the
it.
appetite that people want, like you said.
Yeah.
You're right.
You gotta
yeah, it's
find
all
the
about timing a year
Yeah,
too.
timing a year, yeah.
They got some stuff to figure out.
Maybe one day.
Maybe
One day.
All right, well, that's all we got. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Down to the Wire. Melissa and Adam, thanks for being
Yeah.
here.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Well, I'm your host, Cole Young. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.